It's a new business week. Welcome to Business Incorporated, coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Chimezie Obi Iwagu. On the show today, Botswana coal producer Myenergy plans to list on London Stock Exchange next year. And Kenyan government raises stake in Kenya Airways in a debt swap deal. Plus, Peugeot launches joint venture to build cars in Algeria. Let's get started here in the continent with the markets. And South African JSE index outshined its peers at intraday, crossing the 60,000 mark, up 0.51%. The NSE index was down 0.54% as Nigerian breweries shed some weight at intraday. The market in Egypt was down 0.90%, while Kenyan market dropped 0.49% on Friday. And in the Middle East, stock markets were kind of mixed, though low at intraday, with Saudi Arabia under pressure from the kingdom's anti-corruption probe, and Dubai, where trade in GFH Financial was volatile. The Saudi index was up 0.75% lower after 20 minutes of trade repeatedly since the start of last week. Selling by individual investors spooked by the investigation has pushed the market lower during much of the day before buying by state-linked funds, which are apparently mounting a market support operation, cut losses towards the close. In Dubai, the index was up 0.38%. GFH was 3.5% higher at 1.49 dirhams after swinging between 1.35 and 1.51 dirhams in heavy trade. The company said it had exited real estate portfolios in Bahrain and the United States worth $180 million and would invest in the education sector and plan to acquire a financial institution in the Six Nation Gulf Cooperation Council by year end. Abu Dhabi's Dan Gas dropped 2.7% after reporting a leap in third quarter net profit to 375 million dirhams from 47 million a year ago, thanks to higher hydrocarbon prices. Our British High Court judge may issue a ruling as soon as this week on the company's effort to avoid redeeming about $700 million of Islamic bonds that matured in October on the grounds that the sukuk are no longer legally valid. Abu Dhabi's index was down 0.09%. Qatar was down 0.24%. In Europe, stocks were mostly higher in early trade as investors focused on earnings while keeping an eye on tax reform plans in the US and political woes in the UK. Let's bring in Janelle Dumalon, my colleague at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, to tell us more. Good afternoon, Janelle. Thank you very much for joining us. A beautiful week. Now, Janelle, the Brexit political turmoil has dragged down the pounds, but the FTSE 100 index is making gains today, while the future of Theresa May as the Prime Minister seems shaky. How's the rest of the European markets weighing in on the ongoing Brexit hardball?
Well, you know, the markets always seem to be left hanging when it comes to good news related to Brexit or some sign that the financial and economic impact won't be as severe as the Brexit naysayers have been saying. But of course, they haven't really been getting that burst of positivity. It's just been one bombshell after the other. And of course, nothing has moved forward in terms of the three stumbling blocks of the Brexit negotiations, like the Brexit bill, the Irish border, and EU citizens' rights. But also domestically, it's just been very, very difficult. Theresa May, she's had to contend with the departure of various key ministers in her cabinet after a series of scandals. And of course, now the Sunday Times in the UK has published a report saying that 40 Conservative ministers have agreed to sign a letter expressing no confidence in her. And of course, you only need 48 to trigger a leadership contest. So that's Theresa May not exactly at her most strong and stable at the moment. Now, European markets are especially concerned about this because if May goes, the question as to who will steer the Brexit process from here on only seems to throw up Eurosceptic alternatives, one on the right with current Foreign Minister Boris Johnson, and on the left with Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn. And of course, this is something that European markets will find deeply unsettling. But this week, we're seeing more talks, so we'll keep you updated on the developments as we hear of them.
Sure, Janelle. I'm just wondering what's upsetting the DAX. They're not looking good at all at this time. Well, let's look at the U.S. Senate tax plan, which of course emerged on Friday and looks to push back corporate tax cut until 2019. Is this a strong market news on the wire this Monday?
Yes, it is to an extent, and you know that markets don't like uncertainty. This is a tried and tested aphorism. You've already pointed out the droopy curve behind me on the DAX, and it's joined by its European peers, also the CAC in Paris, the IBEX in Spain, and as you pointed out earlier, the FTSE is only seeing the most marginal of gains. Now, it is, of course, because of the fact that there are key differences between the tax bill presented by the Republicans in the Senate and the Republicans in the House of Representatives, and it's not clear whether they will be able to meet in the middle or at all. Now, the key feature, of course, of this tax cut bill is that corporate tax rate will be reduced from 35% to 20%. But of course, as you said earlier, the Senate version will see that delayed by a year. So really, investors don't know what will play out when, according to which timeline. And as such, investors have been a bit shy and a bit anxious and are waiting to see what will happen from here on.
Okay, to some corporate news now. German automaker Volkswagen is planning a 560 million euros investment at its particle plant in Argentina over the next 5 years. Why is VW scaling up in Latin America, and how is its shares trading on the news?
Well, investors have certainly welcomed this as good news, and Volkswagen is doing it on one part because of the opportunity and the fact that conditions in Argentina have become quite conducive for this. Argentina's president, Mauricio Macri, has been driving a big push for foreign investment in the country. He's also stated a goal of bringing up car production to 1 million units a year. So that's almost double of, that's more than double actually, of what was produced last year, which is 416,000 units. Now, the German carmakers brand Herbert Diess has said that this move will also create 2,500 new jobs. So for Volkswagen, Argentina is a good place from which to start exporting sport utility vehicles, very much in demand, to the rest of the region, and production of that is slated for 2020.
Right, I wish them luck anyway. Well, Janelle, thank you very much. I'll have to leave you at this time. Enjoy the rest of the day. We'll still have a lot to talk about in the course of the week. Enjoy the rest of the day.